This is a story NewsNation has covered for years. Children crossing the border all alone, no parent, no guardian. The children often with nothing but an address or phone number written on their shirts with a marker and a glimmer of hope they'll see their parents again. And now the White House is asking immigration agents to track down hundreds of thousands of these children and then remove them from the U.S. Border correspondent Allie Bradley joins us live. So, Allie, what does the fate of these children, what does it look like?
Yeah, hey, Nichole, we're talking about roughly 600,000 unaccompanied children that have come into the United States since 2019. Now, the vast majority of them, we're talking about around 540,000, they came in under the Biden administration. And now ICE officers are being directed to go and find these unaccompanied children. Now, here's the deal, though. When people hear the term unaccompanied minors, automatically kind of think about really, really young, tender-age children. But here's the reality here. The majority of these unaccompanied minors that we're talking about, 61% of them are young men between the ages of 14 and 17. So where are they from? The majority are from the Northern Triangle. About 81% are from Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, and El Salvador. 19% are from other countries. Now, we talked with retired Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent Victor Avila about this, and he says a lot of times these unaccompanied minors aren't being honest about their age, and he says more vetting needs to be done.
I think now the pressure is on to identify these individuals, to not take it for granted that just because of their age, they're good to go. A lot of them, by the way, are 19 years old, 18, 19, 20, that look very young. We don't know their identity, and they come across pretending to be a minor because one of the things that I encountered a lot on the border was that they knew that if they were a minor, more than likely, and there was a very high percentage here, that the assistant U.S. attorney would decline to prosecute. And that's very true.
So this is a story that we've been covering for years now. We've interacted with several children who came over unaccompanied. We're looking right now at some very young and very scared children. These two little girls, ages 10 and 7, they're from Ecuador. They're crying out for their mother, who was in Dallas. Now, I met them in Arizona. I walked with them to the border truck. I brought them snacks. I even asked the agent, what are the chances that these little girls will be reunited with their mom? He said, sadly, the chances are slim. The note cards often lead them back into the hands of traffickers, not into the hands of their actual families. Now, the Biden administration did end that mandatory rapid DNA testing requirement during that time frame. And the Border's Tom Homan tells me that they discovered around 30% of these families to be fraudulent, meaning the parent isn't legitimately the child's parent or guardian. Now, Tom Homan told me that they are bringing back that mandatory testing requirement here, Nichole, excuse me.
And we know that we're talking about hundreds of thousands of children here, Allie. So how will authorities know how to find them, where to find them?
Yeah, they have a few places that they can start, right? So we know 540,000 have essentially come in over the last 4 years, and around 470,000, they were released to certain sponsors. So we've been looking at the data from Health and Human Services, because once a child crosses the border unaccompanied, they're released to HHS, to the Office of Refugee Resettlement. So that's kind of a nuance there. Now, when it comes to these children, Texas is actually home to the majority of these unaccompanied minors. Data for the fiscal year, which just began in October, shows nearly 3,000 unaccompanied children have been released to either family or a sponsor in the Lone Star State. Following that, California, Florida, and New York have seen those unaccompanied minors come to their state. Now, Congress has said there are roughly 320,000 of these kids who are essentially unaccounted for. But what does that mean? Okay, so they do these follow-up calls. HHS will do these, but they weren't able to actually locate that child when they called. So they maybe didn't answer the phone, or that child was not at the address that was provided. Sources say that when an unaccompanied minor is encountered and has a phone number to call, it's kind of a win because it's a so-called easy placement if someone answers, but they rarely conduct these in-person visits. They're kind of just blindly sending them to an address. Now, there are federal facilities, 3 of them, that are basically in warm status that the federal government is paying for, taxpayer funded, but they're empty. They don't have children in them. Instead, there's around 6,000 children in HHS custody today. They're spread out amongst 296 facilities. The main contractor of those facilities is Southwest Key Program and Nichole. The DOJ is suing that organization for sexual exploitation and harassment of children in its shelters. They did not end their contracts, nor did they prohibit them from.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.